How did that journey begin?
I was forced into it by my parents. So all the way back to my childhood, my parents were realtors. And when we moved to Colorado Springs, they started doing not only real estate, but property management. And they were real estate investors that were flipping properties, but we would live in them while we were flipping it, make it nice. And then we'd move out into a new crappy house and then rent out the nice one that we just fixed up. So we did that about 3 or 4 times. And my mom said enough. I made my dad buy a permanent house. But they still continue to do real estate investment. And obviously there's a lot of people that probably follow the same journey where they do it themselves so much, and then people start asking because they've assembled a good group of vendors and they know who to call and they're out there looking for good deals. And so they inevitably started managing accounts for other people. And they got up to hundreds of properties, late 80s, early 90s, which is, we didn't have anywhere near the software and the organization and the trade groups as we do now. So that's a pretty decent little company back then. And and they did it out of the house. So got to hear them yell at tenants sometimes, and tenants dropping off wads of cash for rent and all that stuff. So
you had tenants coming to your home then?
Yeah. And I'd never do that myself, but my dad's pretty frugal. Didn't want to invest in any office space for a while. So
I can understand that. And y'all were all paper then. Back in the 80s and 90s, you had to have been all paper.
Yeah, 100%. I think my dad bought a Commodore 64, and that was like the greatest thing ever because I could play video games on it. But he was using it to do statements, and that's where I learned all my cuss words, was him trying to figure out how to print off the Commodore 64. So when I graduated, I went in the military for about 10 years. I went to West Point, flew helicopters for a while. And when I got out, I liked the military, but I've always kind of had the entrepreneurial bug, and I've always been interested in property management for some reason. So I went into business with my mom, and this was around 2000 actually, 2001 maybe. And I started a company called RentClicks when I was doing that. And that was an advertising company. It's rentals.com now. I sold it. So yeah, it's still out there, still doing okay, but I started that because I couldn't find anywhere to advertise in a slowing rental market, and we were using the paper, which was fine if you only had to advertise for a week or so. But if you're heading there for a month or two, that bill gets pretty hefty. The owners start complaining. So I was simply looking for a better place to advertise, and we started that company. Sold that in a few years to what used to be Apartment Guide. I think it's Rent, or I don't even know what their name is anymore. It's changed hands a few times.
So why did you decide to sell that one? Was that the plan the entire time? Build it up, sell it, make a profit, and start something else?
Well, we didn't really have a plan. That was part of the problem. We're young. We're in our early 30s. Some people waved what we thought was a lot of money at us and said, "You want to sell it?" And we said, "Wow, that would be pretty nice to have that kind of money." And we took it, even though it's made many times that since we've sold it. But that's okay. That you live and you learn. And I wouldn't be where I am now had I stuck with it. But in hindsight, it would have been smarter to keep it because it's still making good money today, and it's been almost 20 years since we sold it. So, but it does give you a lot of experience. And then I went and did some other stuff that was not property management related with limited success. And my current business partner, Jonathan Ewan, contacted me while I was doing that. And then we started working together. And our initial venture that we did together was actually a competitor to RentClicks called Free Rental Site, which we ended up using as our marketing wing for to market people's properties and distribute it out to Zillow and all the rental sites. But we never really got quite the traction that we did at RentClicks. And then so we pivoted to doing property manager websites. I founded that company also with Jonathan, and we thought there was a really good opportunity to use our SEO knowledge that we had used to attract tenants to property managers' listings to help them find tenants. We thought there was a good opportunity to help them market themselves to investors. And so we kind of started as the only vertical specific web development company. And
I actually have a BU website. I actually have one. I switched. I had done every website in the book, David, every website. and I paid thousands and thousands. And you've got to tell me this. Why does PMW have a better traction on Google than if you go build it with someone else? It just does. So why is that? What's the backing behind this, that the secret sauce?